Hi guys, I'm here in Berlin at the Cheyenne headquarters to talk a little bit about hygiene and the safety of the Cheyenne tattoo equipment. Why is it important for us as practitioners to know about the hygiene procedure? Could we have any consequences from not knowing everything about hygiene? Could we do damage to our machine or the system when we work with it if we don't know about the way we use it? Could there be any specific guidelines that we need to follow? We have specific guidelines and they're different from country to country. Today I'm going to explain a little bit closer about the specific guidelines in the Scandinavian region. So stay tuned, look at the video, it's going to be all important stuff and well, here we go. My name is Bergström. I'm a tattooer since 23 years back. I'm also involved with the Swedish Tattoo Association since 2007. I run a platform called Tattoo and Piercing Education Scandinavia. I've been doing that for 10 years now, doing lectures regarding workplace hygiene. I'm also a user of the Cheyenne system since 10 years back. So I started in 2009. I was one of the first people in Scandinavia to use this system, and immediately I found it to be very safe and a very nice way to practice safely. Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit about mechanical cleaning and also go through a little bit about the different levels of clean. So there's clean, ultra clean and sterile. So these are set apart, but in a medical environment you have to know about how these things work. So we have visibly clean. Alright, the table is clean in front of me. Not a problem. I can sit by it, I can eat by it, I can use it for anything I want, but I can't practice from it. That's not clean enough. So visibly clean is not clean enough. To get it clean enough to be able to practice from, or any machine or any material around you, you're going to have to put it to ultra clean. So that's a new level of clean. Ultra clean means that you need to add mechanical cleaning. Basically what you're doing when you're doing mechanical cleaning is like you're cleaning it. So you're wiping it off thoroughly. Always wiping. So if you have a machine or a grip, it's super important that you take your alcohol-based fluid, some kind of paper tissue or another type of cloth and wipe it down thoroughly after you used it. Also before you use it, because every time you look at something in a shop environment, you should always consider it to be contaminated. So even when you start working, your machine might look clean, but if it's been there for 24 hours since you used it last time, technically it isn't clean. So you need to make it ultra clean by wiping it mechanically. When you clean a system, normally, if it's a traditional system or the Cheyenne system, we take the parts that are possible to take apart, obviously. So we're going to clean this in two parts. The mechanical cleaning is, like I said earlier, it's the wiping part. Very easy. Come into all the nooks and crannies like this. Everything needs to be clean. And to even consider this to be ultra clean, you need to take everything off it. It can't be any stains of ink, any stains of blood or anything. So it should look like it came from the factory yesterday. Also, cleaning the inside can be a little bit complicated with this stuff. So for me, I've always used a Q-tip just to be able to come in the inside of the grip, for example. So very important that you clean these parts too. This is a definite risk hazard, the inside of the grip. So that's very important that we really get inside and clean that properly. One thing that I don't wear right now is gloves. So obviously if we were doing this in the shop, we would have our gloves on. So never forget the gloves, it's super fucking important. Sorry for my bad French, but that's just how it works. So we're going to take this another step. We're going to talk about covering the machine for safety purpose. Is this important? Hell yeah, it's super important. Why is it important? Well, it's the thing with cross-contamination. So we don't want any blood or fluids on our machines. Let's imagine that I'm at work right now. So I did my setup, everything's fucking good to go. Nice, clean and covered. So we work with extra protective barriers right now. So we're going to add something to the machine. But before I do this, obviously I need to take my watch off because We can't tattoo with watches on. That's a bad idea. Super bad idea. And then, of course, I want to use gloves when I work. That's what we do. But, I mean, this is we're imagining right now. I'm not actually in the tattoo shop, but I might as well wear gloves anyway. So put them on, everything's good to go, all right? So we can just start with one of the machines that's becoming really, really popular right now. Is the Solnova. This one, super fucking nice machine. I've tried it several times and it's awesome. How do we cover this and make it safe to work with? Well, it's actually quite simple. So we can use one of these cord covers, for example. The Solnova fits very nicely in this one. So just put that in. You can do a little bit of leftover of the plastic and then do a fold over, so you get like an extra membrane over here where the needle goes in, really easy. This is the original grip for the Solnova. We've taken that off. And if we want to use a disposable version of this, we could use one of these D grips, the Ergo version. So this fits on the Nova, and we just put it on like this. And now we're actually going to be good to go. So now we're actually created like a really, really safe way of using this machine actually. So it's going to be very easy to clean this afterwards. And the cartridges go in here. We have a little bit of an extra membrane because we folded over the plastic. So very easy peasy Japanesey. Obviously we're going to put the cord in this end. So we also covered the cord, which is also important. All right, everybody follows. Super nice. All right, so we looked at the pen version of the machine, how to cover it, but obviously we have like a broad range of machines that we can use, and some of them are tilted, so that means we cover them in a slightly different way. So we can just pick up one of the newest ones to show that. This is the Solterra. Obviously this is a little bigger, which means it's a little bit harder to cover with a traditional cord sleeve. So to cover this one, I'm using a typical machine cover bag. Came out 10-15 years ago and so we were able to cover also the traditional machine there, like the coil machines. But this works perfectly for this type of machine. It's a little bit bigger, like I said. So now we covered the machine. So now we're just gonna add a grip to it. So take one of the nice grips. Cool. So put that on there. All right, machine covered perfectly, sealed very nicely. Then we can use another protective barrier. So we can use one of the Cheyenne cover sleeves for the grips. Put that on. All right, super duper. A little bit of extra protection here, and I can just use a rubber band, for example. Put that on. Right. So now the machine is pretty much actually sealed. So success, I would say. Like this, I can still twitch it pretty good, like this. And now obviously we need to put the cord on. Cord is in a sleeve too. Connect with the machine, super easy. So pretty goddamn good, I would say. But you can, if you want to, also add another protective barrier on this. Many people do, and a lot of people use this product. It's a tape product, obviously, for the grip. So it's an okay product. It's not sterile when you buy it, obviously. So that's something you need to think about. But the biggest issue with these tapes that I see when I actually watch people work is that they leave this on the working bench while they're working. That is definitely not a good idea. That's much likely to contaminate the tape, actually. So even the tape needs to be considered as a product that you need to keep safe away from the working area. So when you're done the covering of the machine or the grip with the tape, put the tape away. All right, guys, we have successfully covered the machines, so we're pretty much all good to go. But you have to remember, it depends a little bit on how you use the machine over the day. Because now we could consider this being a low risk item. So we covered it, nothing can touch it, there won't be any blood on it. If I use it just for a little while, for example. But if I am the type of practitioner that works for, let's say, 6 to 10 hours with the same machine, I change the cartridge back and forth over the day. I mean, that's going to make a huge difference, especially on these parts where fluids might come in and touch the machine. So if you're working with the machine for over a full day, for example, it might be a good idea to change the cover plastic 1 or 2 times, like you change your gloves on your hands, for example. If you visibly see that the plastic breaks, that's obviously going to affect the fact that it's not going to be considered like a low-risk product anymore. It's going to be a high-risk item. So if there's a risk involved when you use it, it might be a good idea to actually sterilize it afterwards, not only wipe it off. To get to that point of clean, you have to add another factor, and that would be the sterilization process. Like it's a machine, sterilization machine. Most of us old timers have used with this many years. This was something that everybody had in-house before. Now, not so much. We know it's a fact that many people use this system without sterilization process. We also talked about today that can be pretty okay because medically tested, it's a very safe system, one of the safest systems on the market. But we're still talking about the human factor. So it depends a little bit on how you use the machine, if it's safe or not. Does it need to be sterilized or not? So if we look at the Swedish regulation, for example, the Swedish regulation is quite outdated. It was written in the early 90s, it's still in use. And that guideline says that any hollow object that can come in contact with blood or membrane should be sterilized in a B-cycle autoclave. A B-cycle means that when you sterilize it, it doesn't only sterilize on the surface, it also sterilizes inside the hollow object, which is very important because a lot of stuff can grow inside the grip. Many practitioners today, obviously the younger ones that probably haven't that much experience, doesn't really realize the risk factor of using it over and over again and only wiping it off, for example. So you can put like the cover sheet on it, that's okay, it's perfect. But if you use it for several hours, like 5 hours, 6 hours, and then change the cartridge many times, maybe the protection barrier that you have here from the plastic won't work anymore, and all of a sudden you have stuff coming in the inside of the grip, and maybe next time when you put a cartridge in, you're actually contaminating the cartridge, for example. It's not a big risk. It's been looked at, medically tested. We know it's not a big risk, but remember, for some of these bloodborne pathogens, you only need 1 virus particle to contaminate another person. All right, so guys, just remember, if there's no possibility for you to do in-house sterilization, that's not the end of the world. It can be solved. Just use a disposable version of these grips. That's the safest way to do it. Obviously, there's a version for this also for example, for the Sol Nova. Same thing, disposable function. You can change the normal tip to a disposable tip like this. Super easy. Use this once, and then when it's done, throw it away. So very risk-free behavior, I would say. Also, when we talk about the sterilization process, sometimes you can hear the word an ultrasonic device. An ultrasonic device is something that also can help the sterilization process to be easier. It's a way of micro-boiling away small residue of ink and skin and other stuff, dirt that could be on the grip, on the material. Also a little bit complicated. It's referred to in your product manual that you get when you buy this system. So please, if you wanna learn more on how to do this, if you want to do in-house sterilization, so using an ultrasonic is a very good idea, and also the way you use an autoclave is really important. It's important that it's the right autoclave. So you can find information here, or you can just pop into the website, the official Cheyenne website, of course, to get more information on that. All right, guys, so to answer a simple question, what part of the system do we need to disinfect after we've used it? Well, everything. So everything we used, everything that might have been in contact with blood or mucous membrane, that needs to be disinfected. There's also a rule of thumb here. It might have been repeated, but it's worth repeating again. You can never disinfect something that isn't clean already. So this is like a 2-step procedure. Very important, especially when it comes down to the machine and the grip, obviously. Everything's been covered in plastic, so we're good on that point. The power pack has been covered in plastic. It's protective barrier. We know the cable has been covered in plastic. So does it make it safe to use one more time? You have another client coming in 30 minutes. Do I need to clean it? Yes, we do need to clean it. Absolutely. How do I clean it? Well, the easiest way to clean something, and the way it's recommended, is to use either an alcohol-based fluid. Paper tissue works pretty fine. Today I'm going to illustrate it with a type of wet wipe, also alcohol-based. Really, really easy to use. Again, we apply the mechanical cleaning. So the mechanical cleaning was done in a couple of steps, but we need to add the alcohol. We need to add energy and friction, and that's what we do when we clean stuff. So wipe it off and wipe everything off. And you guys are like thinking now, it's like, yeah, but that's pretty basic. Yeah, but the thing is, like, people actually fail this pretty much. So that's why we have like a problem statistics, because people don't really understand that you need to clean everything and you need to clean it every day after every client, and that's just how it works. It's a routine that we do all the time. So basically wipe everything off, power pack, clip cord, of course, and you need to wear the gloves all the time, gloves on, and change the wipes. So, I mean, you don't have to use the same wipe. You use one on the power pack, you use one on the cord, and then you use one on the machine. So toss that off, take a new one, the machine. So I've been using this machine now. It's been covered with plastic. Still, it's could be considered a low-risk item. We don't know if there's blood or anything on it. If I see visual blood on it, I need to consider it to be a high-risk object. But I start with just wiping it off once properly. And then I usually take it off in two parts, obviously, because I'm going to handle the grip again later. So I put that to the side and then do the second wipe down on the machine to make sure that it's like super clean. So the first time when we wipe it off, it's clean. The second time we actually disinfecting it. So are you with me? Very easy stuff, but it might sound easy, but it is a little bit complicated, and you don't want to miss out and miss anything. So very important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the needle. Why would the needle be important, or the cartridge, so to speak? Well, it is important, and it's an important part of the safety of the Cheyenne system. It has information on the actual package that I need to know that it's sterile. It also has the information about the expiry date that could be very, very validated. But most importantly, it also have the worldwide patent safety membrane inside of it. So what is that? What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about this little geezer right here. So that's the little rubber thingy inside that keeps stuff from going backwards into the actual system, into the grip. And that's like super important. So if you, for any reason, are using a needle that doesn't have a membrane inside of it, it actually makes the system really, really unsafe to use. So you shouldn't use anything but the original needle. If you choose to use any type of needle, any type of cartridge with the Cheyenne system, make sure it has a membrane, because that is the safest way to use the system. It pretty much guarantees that nothing goes backwards into the grip. Also remember, when you use the needle and you're done tattooing, you also have to dispose of the needle the right way. So you can't just chuck these in the garbage. That's impossible. That would be dangerous for people. So we need something suitable to put the needle in. And that would be one of these containers. That works perfectly for this. This disposable container obviously needs to be disposed of also in the right way. So after you chuck it in, you fill it up. Seal it, obviously. You need to make sure that the people that handle this are the right people, that they're valid for the job. So basically today we've been talking about the Cheyenne system, but I know for a fact that many of you out there is actually using maybe another type of machine. Is that a problem? No, not necessarily at all, because there are options for safe grip, for example. So even if you're using any type of rotary machine, most of the companies that make rotary machines today have adapted to the fact that these grips are on the market. So with the Cheyenne grip, another machine, not a problem. You can still use the original cartridge, not a problem. So work safe and very effectively with any type of rotary machine pretty much on the market, actually. So that's a good thing. Is that a safety aspect? Yeah, absolutely, because it has to do with the cartridge needle. So I mean, the grip and the needle makes everything safer. Or if you are using an old type of coil machine, you could also actually try and work with this type of grip. Fits most coil machines, and it's going to allow you to work with the cartridge needle. So an old type of machine, but a little bit more modern style of needle and grip. So that could be a thing for you. So just shortly regarding regulations, we've been touching the topic a little bit during this video, but I just want to remind you that whoever watches, it's good to know that regulations are very, very different from different regions. So it can change from country to country. So wherever you work, it's very important that you understand the rules and regulations in the country you actually work in. So let's say you're from Germany, you go to Sweden, you're still going to have to apply Swedish regulations when you work. So that's like a basic rule of regulations. This video refers to primarily the Swedish regulations and touches the whole region of Scandinavia. So that was just a thing that we wanted to remind you of. Also very important. Alright guys, so we're only been scratching the surface of this with hygiene today. If you have any more questions regarding tattoo safety and hygiene procedures, you can always go into the official Cheyenne website. Also make sure to subscribe on the Cheyenne YouTube channel. Yeah, so it's a good thing. And also remember, if you want to learn more and hear more from me, you can always come to one of my lectures. I do approximately 10 to 15 lectures per year on workplace hygiene over the whole Scandinavian region. Also, we have a website. It's www.tattooeducation.se. So come and learn. It's fun, yo!